Hey y'all, welcome to Pleiadian Point of View. I'm Peyton with Peyton Energetics, and I'm a Pleiadian channel and starseed coach. So in today's video, the Pleiadians are going to be talking to us about cutting ties with 3D. So in my last monthly energy report, the P's made a comment about the importance of our cutting ties with 3D. And because I can't go into tons of detail on my monthly updates, I asked the Pleiadians to speak more about that in today's video. But before we jump into today's topic, don't forget, hit the subscribe button and the like button if you haven't done that yet. So in my last monthly energy report, the Pleiadians were giving some advice to us on how to speed up our ascension process. Some of the things that are important for us to know as an awakened community if we want to see 5D actually manifest in our experience. And one of the things that they mentioned was the importance of cutting ties with 3D. So I asked them to explain a little bit more what they meant by that. What does that look like? How do we do that? And so what they wanted us to understand in terms of understanding our ascension progress, where we are, how this process is unfolding, is that we're shifting from one operating system to another. And this is a huge jump in consciousness when we move from what we refer to as 3D to 5D. This is something that happens kind of gradually. But in order to complete our transition into fifth dimensional energies, the P's mentioned that it was necessary for us to let go of 3D. As they were saying in the monthly energy report, you can't take it with you. So what they wanted us to understand is that we are in the process of letting go of an old system. And they said we're actually keeping 3D alive just based on our collective memory. They say that the 3D storyline has already collapsed. But because humanity is holding on to the memory of it so strongly, we still think we're there. So one of the ways that they encouraged us to start transitioning to the new consciousness grid was by starting to let go of the old. So all of the systems and structures that went with our 3D reality have to be released. So one of the easiest ways we can start to step back from 3D is to start letting go of some of the main 3D sources of information. And if you're watching these videos, you've probably already done that. And so a lot of times we're talking about letting go of the mainstream news, letting go of putting so much reliance on social media, letting go of a lot of our external sources of information, whether they are mainstream or spiritual. Much of our spiritual community is just as 3D as the mainstream community. We have to be very discerning these days. So as we start to pull back from these external sources of information, we start to make more room for higher wisdom to come into us. But when we're very plugged in to 3D sources of information, just all the mainstream noise out there, we don't leave any room in our consciousness for higher dimensional guidance and wisdom. So one of the things that a lot of us are starting to experience is a strong pull to step away from the outside noise. So I've heard so many people are getting off of social media, putting their phone down, turning it off, because we're just realizing that the more we are plugged in to that frequency, and we're only talking energetics. Whenever we are talking about 3D versus 5D or this vibration versus another, I'm never coming from a position of judgment. We are only talking about differences in vibration, or you can think of it as different radio stations. So there is nothing inherently wrong with 3D. It's just not the frequency that most of us in the awakened community want to plug into. So one of the ways that we start to accelerate our movement onto the 5D grid is we have to let go of the old. We can't take with us the energy that these systems are based in. So if we are very plugged in to all of these lower vibrational storylines, our vibration is going to match that, which means we can't move into fifth dimensional energies. We're not a vibrational match. So one of the things that the P's were reminding us is of the importance of starting to distance ourselves from any vibration that isn't a match to where we want to go. So if we are spending all of our time glued to our phone, watching stories of doom and gloom, guess what vibration we are choosing to match? The vibration of doom and gloom. But as we start to put down external sources of information, start to distance ourselves from 3D storylines, and again, it's very important to do this in neutrality. The P's are never telling us to push against something or to resist it. If we are pushing against something or resisting it or making it yucky or bad, we're keeping ourselves in resistance with it, which means we're matching its energy. So what the P's are encouraging us to do is move away from these things in neutrality, respecting them, not judging them, but starting to step into our silence, our inner wisdom. Because as we start to get into more silence, we start to connect more with our heart. And our heart is our connection point to 5D energies. So the P's wanted us to understand, because they see so many light workers and starseeds still getting sucked in to the 3D rabbit holes. They wanted us to understand the importance of starting to pull back from that. We just can't go in two directions, especially when those directions are opposite. We can't do two things simultaneously. So if we are wanting to be on our fastest ascension timeline, move into 5D reality, we gotta let go of the old. So the P's just wanted to explain a little bit more what this means and how this can look in our lives, because it's something that is very important if we want to actually, as a human collective, manifest the 5D reality. We can't be holding on to the old, because everything that the 3D world and 3D storyline is based in energetically is not allowed in 5D. Fear is not allowed. It just can't go. So the more we are staying tied into, plugged into, glued to 3D sources of information, we are making a free will choice to stay in 3D. But a lot of us are just not realizing this, how important this is. So the Pleiadians just wanted to pop in and give us a little bit more detail on the importance of starting to make a choice as to what world we want to be living in. We can't be in both worlds anymore. So this is a very important topic. I'm sure they are going to be talking to us more about this in the future, but I just wanted to give you a little bit more explanation in case you saw that last energy report and wondered what they were talking about. So this is what the P's had for you in today's POV. Don't forget, hit the subscribe button and the like button if you haven't done that yet. And don't forget, click the link in the description to work with the P's and me one-on-one. I'll see you next time. Bye, y'all.